So I got my putty knife up in there. I pulled this out far enough to get my screwdriver in there. It was like that, and I got just enough to get that out a little bit, and then put the putty knife up here so I didn't scratch anything any worse than I had to. Okay, once I get it up that far, I can now take my cat's paw nail puller, run it this way, and see that? When I pull that, the T-bar, the wall angle is generally thin enough to pull right over a sheetrock nail head, and it pulled out the nail head just enough, you know, to where I can get in there with a hacksaw. Might have to tweak that nail from the other side, whatever. And then I can get the hacksaw in there, and sometimes you can pry this out far enough to get to the other nail without too much of a hassle, you know. If you get it up far enough, then you can get the nail puller in there to tap on that and get it out. Yeah, I'll have to keep on working on that, but you get the point. Okay, just be careful with that when you've got sheetrock nails, especially if you're trying to save your cabinet edge. I'm basically trying to get you to learn how to use your tools properly. You know, when you don't want to mess something up, especially like if that was a sheetrock wall and you don't want to pry into it, then take your putty knife, run that behind there, and then you can use that as a pry without gouging in or poking a hole right through your wall or something. Okay? There's a tip for you. Now this one's, the head's almost out far enough. Tap that in. And instead of prying on there, always remember to put something underneath it. Here's my putty knife. Got it wedged underneath there so I can pry now on that. Okay, move that back right there, and there it is. Know when to be a bull in a china shop and know when not. I've got this wall angle left, and remember, this had screws. Thank goodness for that. Now, lots of times you can take your little adapter for your handheld battery operated drill, and you can use something like that, because the end usually is the same size as a standard one of those little screws with the head like that. But this time, you know, I'm putting it on there and it feels like it's stripping just a little bit. That's because the inside of this has been stripped. I used this for some screws outside, and the screws were really super tight, and I spun it and it gouged that out. It's still enough to hold a magnetic tip, you know, all my screw tips, my screwdrivers, but not to undo these screws because it's stripped out. Had it not stripped out, I could just zip these out. But lots of times these have a slot in them. See that slot? That's for a standard screwdriver. You can use that, or you can use a little mini ratchet set and take them out that way. Okay? Several different ways to get a screw like that out. You know, these little screws are just standard little sheet metal screws. And the slots, lots of times you can just take it right out. And sometimes you can't. The other screws, I zipped them right out. So had I had that little magnetic tip holder, I could zip it out. So I'm going to make a note to myself. Anytime you start working on a project, if you see different little tools that you need, write them down so that next time you're at the store you can get them so you can do your projects better. Invest in yourself and don't pay someone else. You can even take a little crescent wrench, and that's what I'm going to have to do for this one. I use a small little crescent for lots of different things. If you don't have one of these in your nail bag, you've got to get one. You'd be surprised at how often you use, or you could use something like this had you just had one. You know? Now I can take it, unscrew it that way. Once I get it loose. And there's an end on the end of crescent wrenches. And if you're in a tight spot and you got to use something like that and you can't get it sideways and you can only do it that way, you can put it into the end like that and turn it. You know? There it is. Whew, glad that's out of there. Well, this wall angle, when you remove it, when you work on it, these edges are sharp. If you're not paying attention, you slide your hand on it, you can cut it up. Okay, I'm throwing this away in the dumpster, so I'm just going to take my tin snips, snip there, and away it goes. Okay, one cut there, one cut on the back side. Take it, flip it like that. Nice and clean.
I don't